Okay, in this lesson we're going to talk about exponents, right, and exponential notation. What is an exponent? Okay, so if we take, for example, 2 times 2, right, and we say, what is 2 times 2? Well, 2 times 2, we know from multiplication table that we know that 2 times 2 is 4, right? We know that 2 times 2 is 4, right? But we can rewrite this as in a different way, right? We can say, well, 2 squared equals 4. 2 squared equals 4. This is called exponential notation. Okay, this is called exponential notation because what exponential notation is that it's talking about how if we have two, if we're multiplying a number by the same number, right? We can rewrite it. We can rewrite it in a more shorthand form of way, right? In this example, the big number or the large number is called the base, and the smaller number is called the exponent. Okay, the base tells you how many. The base is what you're multiplying by. So, like for example, if you use 2 times 2, right? You're saying, well, we're multiplying 2 by itself, right? So the base is the larger number. What the exponent is that the exponent is telling you, well, how many times are we multiplying the base by itself? So we're multiplying the base by itself 2 times. Okay, the base tells us what number are we multiplying, right? Right, and the exponent tells us, well, how many times are we multiplying the base by itself? Like, how many times are we actually doing it, right? So, for example, if we use something like 3, let's use another example, 3 times 3, right? We know that 3 times 3 is 9, right? We know that based on multiplication, right? So we know, okay, well, since we know that we're multiplying 3 by itself, right? So we know that the base itself is 3. And we know that the exponent, since we know that we are multiplying 3 2 times by itself, we know that the exponent is 2. And so we know that we can rewrite it as 3 squared, right? Equals 9, right? 3 squared equals 9 because the 2 means that we're multiplying it, the 3 2 times, right? Let's say, for example, we have another example. Let's say we have 4 times 4 times 4, for example, right? And we say, okay, this is a little bit harder question, right? So we say, okay, well, what is the base, right? We know that the base is 4. What is the exponent? We know the exponent is 3, and we know the exponent is 3 because we're multiplying the base by itself 3 times, right? Right? So this becomes 4 3. But what is 4 3? Well, how do we say? Well, how do we say 4 cubed, right? But how do we calculate this, right? So we say, okay, well, how do we calculate this in our mind, right? So we say, okay, well, 4 times 4. Well, we know from multiplication that 4 times 4 is 16, right? And then we're multiplying it again by 4, so we know that, okay, using our knowledge of multiplication, we know that 6 times 4 is 4, 24, right? 4 times 4 is 6. We also know from a previous lesson that we can also rewrite it like this. 4 times 4 is 40. 6 times 4 is 24, which becomes 64, right? Both are correct. we know that the answer in this case is 64. Okay. Exponent tells us how many times we're multiplying the base by itself. The base is the number that we're multiplying. The exponent tells us how many times we're multiplying the base by itself, right? Okay. When we're multiplying the base 2 times, right? We say that in English we say it's squared. We squared it. We squared the number, right? So in this case, this would be in English. This would be written as 3 squared. 3 squared, right? When it's 3 times, we say it's cubed. We cubed it. Okay, so in this case, it would be 4 cubed. Okay. Use one more example. That's it. So if you took 5 times 5 times 5, right? Okay. Well, how do we do this? Well, the base is 5. The exponent is 3, right? Because 5 times 5 times 5. And we know that, okay, well, 5 times 5 is 25 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is 10, 12. So this becomes 125 as the answer. That's it. That's it for today. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.